History is written by the victors, right? But what about the stories they tried to erase? The scandals so shocking, the secrets so dark, they were buried, hoping to be forgotten forever. Today, we're digging them up. We're venturing into the forbidden archives of the past to uncover 6 historical scandals they desperately tried to keep secret. And trust me, number 1 will make you question everything you thought you knew about a certain American hero. Let's start our journey in ancient Rome, a place of grand empires and even grander scandals. Everyone knows about the Colosseum and the legions, but have you heard of the Bonadi affair? This was an ultra-exclusive, women-only religious festival dedicated to the goddess of fertility. Men were forbidden, and the penalty for even peeking was death. But in 62 BC, a powerful politician named Publius Clodius Pu, a notorious troublemaker, decided the rules didn't apply to him. Disguised as a woman, he snuck into the ceremony, which was being held at the house of none other than Julius Caesar. Why? He was allegedly having an affair with Caesar's wife, Pompey. He was eventually discovered, and the scandal rocked Rome. Clodius was put on trial, but thanks to some serious bribery and witness intimidation, he was acquitted. Caesar, however, famously divorced Pompey. Not because he believed she was guilty, but because he declared Caesar's wife must be above suspicion. It was a masterclass in political maneuvering, turning a personal humiliation into a public display of honor, all while a massive scandal was swept under the rug. Next, we jump forward to Renaissance Italy, a time of beautiful art and brutal politics. The Borgia family, Pope Alexander VI and his children, Cesare and Lucrezia, are infamous for their ambition and ruthlessness. But there's one story so bizarre, it sounds like something from a TV show: the Banquet of the Chestnuts. According to a contemporary diary, in 1501, Cesare Borgia hosted a dinner party in the papal palace. After the meal, the candlesticks were removed, and 50 courtesans were brought in. They stripped and crawled on the floor, picking up chestnuts that were scattered among the burning candles. The Pope, Cesare, and Lucrezia supposedly watched and even handed out prizes for the men who were most active with the courtesans. Historians have debated the truth of this account for centuries. Was it real, or was it just vicious anti-Borgia propaganda? Either way, the fact that this story even existed shows the level of corruption people believed the papacy was capable of. The Vatican certainly didn't want this version of its history getting out. Let's head to the royal courts of 18th century England. We all know the story of Mad King George III, the monarch who lost the American colonies. But behind his public decline was a secret family tragedy: the affair of Queen Caroline Matilda. She was George's younger sister, married off at just 15 to her cousin, the unstable king, Christian VII of Denmark. Christian was neglectful and cruel, leaving his young queen isolated in a foreign court. She found comfort in the arms of the royal physician, a German doctor named Johann Friedrich Struensee. But this wasn't just a secret romance. Struensee was an Enlightenment thinker, and with the king mentally incapacitated, he and Caroline essentially took control of Denmark. They passed radical reforms, promoting freedom of the press and helping the poor. For about 10 months, they ran the country, but the Danish nobility was furious. They staged a coup, arrested the lovers, and forced the king to sign their death warrants. Caroline was exiled, dying of scarlet fever just 3 years later. Struensee was publicly executed in the most brutal fashion. The Danish court tried to erase this chapter, painting Caroline as a villain and Struensee as a usurper, hiding the fact that for a brief moment, a secret love affair nearly brought the Enlightenment to Denmark. Now, let's cross the Atlantic to the early days of the United States. Think of the founding fathers, and you picture stoic figures like Washington and Jefferson. But what about one of the first major political sex scandals in American history? It involved Alexander Hamilton, the man on the $10 bill. In 1791, while he was Secretary of the Treasury, Hamilton began an affair with a woman named Maria Reynolds. It didn't take long for a husband, James Reynolds, to find out. But instead of challenging Hamilton to a duel, James decided to blackmail him. For over a year, Hamilton paid the couple hush money to keep the affair secret. The problem was, James Reynolds was also involved in a separate financial scam. When he was arrested, he tried to bargain his way out by implicating Hamilton in his scheme, claiming the payments were proof of corruption to clear his name of financial misconduct, which he saw as a far greater crime. Hamilton did the unthinkable. He published that 95-page pamphlet detailing the entire sordid affair with Maria, including excerpts from their love letters. He saved his public career but destroyed his personal reputation. The scandal was so huge, his political rivals printed copies of the Reynolds pamphlet to ruin him. It was a desperate act to control the narrative, choosing one scandal over another. Our fifth secret takes us into the dark heart of the Cold War. In the early 1950s, the CIA was terrified of Soviet brainwashing techniques. So they decided to fight fire with fire, creating one of the most infamous and illegal programs in US history, MKUltra. The goal: to study mind control. The methods were horrifying. The CIA secretly dosed thousands of American citizens with LSD and other drugs without their knowledge or consent. They conducted experiments on everyone from college students and soldiers to prisoners and mental patients. One of the most notorious cases involved a scientist named Frank Olson, who was secretly given LSD by his CIA colleagues. He fell into a deep depression and 9 days later fell to his death from a New York hotel window. His death was ruled a suicide. For 20 years, his family believed that story. It wasn't until the mid-70s, when congressional investigations exposed the MKUltra program, that the truth began to emerge. The government had gone to extreme lengths to cover its tracks, destroying most of the MKUltra files in 1973. It was a massive, illegal human experiment, hidden from the public for decades, by the very agencies sworn to protect them. And now, for the secret I promised at the beginning. It involves one of America's most revered presidents, Woodrow Wilson. We remember him as the idealistic leader who led America through World War I and championed the League of Nations. But from 1919 to 1921, the United States was secretly being run by his wife, Edith Wilson. In October 1919, President Wilson suffered a massive stroke that left him partially paralyzed and bedridden. His condition was a closely guarded secret. Vice President Thomas Marshall was kept in the dark, and the public was told the president was merely exhausted. In reality, the country had no functioning chief executive. This is where the First Lady stepped in. Edith Wilson became the sole gatekeeper. She decided which documents her husband saw, which visitors were allowed, and what information reached the public. She would review every paper, summarize it for the president, and then issue instructions in his name. In her own memoir, she said, "I studied every paper and tried to digest and present in tabloid form the things that, despite my vigilance, had to go to the president. I myself never made a single decision." But many historians disagree, arguing she was, for all intents and purposes, the acting president of the United States for over a year. This petticoat government, as her critics called it, was a constitutional crisis hidden in plain sight, a secret kept to maintain the illusion of power during a critical time in world history. From ancient Rome to the White House, history is filled with secrets. These stories show that behind the polished portraits and official records, people were just as messy, ambitious, and flawed as we are today. They remind us that history isn't just a collection of dates and facts. It's a series of human dramas, complete with cover-ups and conspiracies. What other secrets do you think are still buried? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to like and subscribe to HistorYo for more dives into the hidden corners of the past.